Why did we deny this person? Just imagine asking that. You're looking at a stack of applications from people with incredible scores, perfect grades, and amazing recommendations. Yet, something crucial is missing. So, what is it?
Dear book lovers, welcome to another insight-packed book summary from Summaropedia. We are here to bring you more titles in less time. In this episode, we're going to explore the important and highly practical lessons from the book Let the Story Do the Work by Esther K. Choy. This is an absolute must-read for anyone who's ever felt like their qualifications should speak for themselves, only to find out they weren't being heard.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the standout success problem. Then, we'll get into the psychology of why stories are just so darn persuasive. After that, I'll show you your very own storytelling toolkit, we'll touch on some cool visual tricks, you'll meet the author behind it all, and finally, we'll wrap up with the key takeaways you can start using right away.
Okay, let's get right into the thick of it. The author, Esther Choy, pinpoints this huge issue that so many talented folks face. She calls it the standout success problem. And it's that frustrating feeling when you know you have the skills and the achievements, but you just aren't getting the recognition you deserve.
So picture this. Choy is working in MBA admissions, and she sees applicant after applicant who looks perfect on paper. We're talking top scores, great grades, solid experience, the whole 9 yards. But so many of them got rejected. Why? Well, because they just blended in with a dozen other perfect applicants. The missing piece, the thing that makes you unforgettable, wasn't on the resume. It was a compelling story. A great story is what turns a list of facts into a person someone wants to bet on.
So, what is it about a story that makes it the secret ingredient? Well, it all boils down to how our brains are actually wired. And spoiler alert, it's not all about logic. Not even close. It's about what really makes us tick, what makes us decide.
I love this quote from the book. You can throw all the data and charts and logical arguments you want at someone, and sure, they'll probably nod and say, that makes sense. But if you want them to actually do something, like hire you, or fund your project, or buy into your vision, you have to hit them on an emotional level. That's what gets people to move.
You see, our brains have this thing Choy calls the emotional mind. And don't think of it as some irrational, fluffy part of you. No way. It's a critical piece of your mental hardware. It's the part that connects feelings to facts. And without that connection, we just get stuck.
And get this, there's a true story that proves this point perfectly. A guy they called Elliot had surgery for a brain tumor. Afterward, his IQ was fine, his memory was intact, he was just as smart as before. But the surgery cut off the connection to his emotional mind, and the result was wild. He couldn't make even the simplest decisions. He'd get stuck for hours trying to choose between a black pen and a blue pen. It's a powerful reminder. Decisions aren't logical. They are fundamentally emotional.
Okay, so we get it. Stories are a BFD. But how in the world do you actually build a good one? Well, here's the great news. You don't have to be some kind of creative genius. The book gives us a super simple, really powerful toolkit that honestly anyone can pick up and use. So at the very core of basically every story you've ever loved, from your favorite movie to that amazing pitch you heard last week, is this timeless 3-act structure. Just think of it like this. Act 1 sets the stage and hooks you in. Act 2 is the messy middle, the struggle, the journey. And Act 3, that's the big finish, the resolution that ties everything together and gives you a clear takeaway.
And this is so cool. We can actually see what that journey looks like. The legendary author Kurt Vonnegut literally drew graphs of story shapes. Look at the left, that's man in a hole. A character is doing okay, falls into deep trouble, and then climbs back out. Or on the right, boy meets girl. You find something amazing, you lose it, and then you fight to get it back. All of a sudden, the shape of a story becomes something you can actually see and understand. It's brilliant.
So you don't have to start from scratch. The book gives us 5 super reliable plots that work in almost any business setting. Is your story an origin story about how it all began? Or maybe a classic rags to riches tale? Are you overcoming the monster by taking on a huge challenge? Or are you on a quest to achieve something incredible? Or maybe it's a story of rebirth and transformation. These are your go-to template.
All right, once you've got that basic structure down, it's time to kick it up a notch. Choy shares some really powerful techniques to make your story extra memorable, especially when you're trying to explain something complicated.
I love this because it takes the mystery out of being creative. Choy calls it the virtuous cycle. Storytelling isn't about waiting for a lightning bolt of inspiration. Nope, it's a process. First, you mine your own experiences for the raw material. Then you refine those ideas using the frameworks we just talked about. And finally, you practice telling the story until it lands perfectly. It turns storytelling into a skill you can actually build, brick by brick. Now, for a concept that might sound a little weird at first, but trust me, it's a game changer. It's called story pictures. And the big idea here is that you do not need slick professional graphics. In fact, sometimes a super simple, even hand-drawn picture can be way more powerful for getting a complex idea to stick in someone's brain. Let me just walk you through how this works. Say you're pitching a new idea. You always start here, in the middle, with the norm. This is just what your audience already knows, what they consider totally normal and expected. It's your baseline. Then you have this outer ring. This is the too weird zone. If your idea is way out here, if it's too different or too strange, you know what happens? People's eyes glaze over. They just can't connect with it, so they completely check out. And that brings us to the magic zone. This is the just right sweet spot. This is where you want your story to live. It's new enough to be interesting and grab their attention, but it's still familiar enough that they can relate to it. A simple little drawing like this can help you figure out exactly how to position your message so it actually lands.
So, who's the person who figured all this stuff out? It's only fair we get to know the expert guide behind these ideas. Let's talk about the author, Esther K. Choy. Choy's whole approach is so powerful because it came from a real-world problem she saw over and over again. Back in her admissions days, she realized that the smartest, most analytical people were often the absolute worst at explaining why they mattered. So she decided to fix that. She founded the Leadership Story Lab to give those same left-brain leaders the right-brain tools they need to tell their stories.
We have covered a ton of ground, so let's bring it all home. What are the biggest, most important lessons to remember from Let the Story Do the Work? All right, here's the cheat sheet. Number 1, qualifications get you in the door, but a great story is what makes them remember your name. 2, logic makes people think, but emotion is what makes them act. Always remember that. 3, you can build any story on that simple 3-act structure. 4, use those 5 basic business plots. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. 5, storytelling is a skill you can learn. Just mine, refine, and tell. And finally, don't underestimate the power of a simple drawing to make a big idea stick. And that really brings us to the last and, I think, most important question of all. Thinking about everything we just covered, what's the one story about your career, your idea, or your passion that you really need to start telling? Thanks for watching. I really hope this gave you some practical tools to let your own stories do the work. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more impactful book summaries from Summarypedia. See you in the next one.